Okay, our plan is to replace this fender. I bought a fender painted, Craigslist. There's somebody here in Houston that painted fenders. It was 175 bucks, so I got it painted. And this is a dent right there. A little hit and run. Somebody backed into my wife and then just took off. And so basically we got to look at a couple things. We got to look at this line here. Got to look at this line right there, and this door. Look at how tight that is. So looks like we can put that pretty close. This is connected down here somehow, and we have this inner fender to take off. That's inside here. So the first thing we're gonna have to do is get this wheel off, get all these little pegs off, and the bolts on the inside. And there's a couple bolts in here in the door, but I think you have to get them through that fender. So I'm going to take the wheel off, and once I get the wheel off, I will start taping again. Okay, I don't want to bore you too much with all the detail, but basically the frame is way up under there. So basically I jacked it up and was going to put a jack stand under that, but it was too low for those jacks. Basically what I've used is an extension, makes it easier, some length to it. That is a 13/16 for the Chrysler lug nuts, and you get a little torque wrench to help you take them off. And basically I just pretty much lowered this back to the ground. I'm not really going to be under this or under that part, so I put a brick under the back tire. So let's start trying to get these clips off, see if we can get some of those off. I don't know what that's all about. Maybe that will come unplugged, or looks like another obstacle. Anyhow, I'll start taking off some of the clips, and then I will do another video here in a second. Okay, I pulled off these first clips and some learning curves. The first one, I got these electrical pliers and got up underneath, and then I could see that's a two-piece. So the next one, I just pulled up on that outer ring, and then the whole thing came out real easy. So that's the key. I got some cut off pieces. Don't cut it, but just get under there. Let's cut an angle on it so you could slide it up under there and pull that out. So I'm going to pull all those out and videotape again. Okay, the next one I did, same thing I was explaining before. That one popped all the way out, and this was stuck in there, and then I just pulled that out. Pretty simple, but don't lose any of those. You need them to put back in the car when you're done, unless you want to go spend $2 a piece on them probably. So basically I pulled out, this one was missing those three, so I pulled out 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we have these that are pop riveted to the fender. So we'll see what it's going to take to get these off. Those are some weird ones. The next ones, I couldn't get my pliers up in there, so I basically just used the screwdriver and pulled these out of there. Well, you know, this big long screwdriver works. Here, let me show this one, if I can get it to work. Basically, just stick a screwdriver up in there, pry those down, comes right out, and use your superhuman strength. There you go. That's getting those out of there. So I got a few more to do, and just pull all those out. Okay, those are plastic pop rivets, and that's what they look like. Instead of being a metal pop rivet, they're plastic, so those spread out behind there. So you're just going to have to cut those off and find something new to put in there, and I'll figure that out, and we'll put something in there. So basically just cut those off. You don't really have a choice. This is what I use to cut them off. Unfortunately, don't cut this one off. You don't need to. I cut it off, but as you see, it's not connected in there. this one was right there. So you were going to have to cut that one, but you didn't need to cut that one. It would have been one less to cut. And these three will all have to be cut off. Okay, there's one more clip, two clips on the inside that I didn't see. And I've changed my mind about cutting these. Don't cut these three. Don't cut this one. Well, we'll see. If I can just remove these two and fold this down, you may not have to cut these three off. We'll just leave them attached. So we'll give that a try so you won't have to waste cutting all those open. Okay, I was back to these three. Unfortunately, you have to take them off because there's screws right here on the inside, and there's just not enough clearance to be able to work up in there. So we got to take the whole apron out. Okay, I have yet to figure out how to get that off, but there's a quick clip here to get this hose down. Just lift that up and pull this down, and then we'll just lay it on top of this thing. Okay, that's basically what we got. We just got that. Don't know how to take that loose, and it looks like it would be a lot of work to get that off. There's really no need. We just have to get to these bolts here to unscrew 2 bolts, maybe 3, and inside here I can't see, but there's a couple bolts in there, and then inside the hood. Okay, I saw this yesterday. There's actually just a piece of plastic foam up inside there. So we take that out, lay it somewhere safe. Probably just put it in the back seat. Don't want that to blow away in the wind. So now you can see one bolt and the other bolt's up there. So there's 2 bolts there. I don't know if there's a bolt underneath there at the bottom. There typically is. So we'll see if we can just get our wrench up in there. And we'll see if we can get those loose. Okay, easy enough. I got a double extension. That's a number 10 metric. Just reach up in that fender. There's 2 of them in there. And then do the top one. And do the ones inside and do those. We'll see if we can pull that loose. Okay, keep these screws in order. These are the front ones. And one went here. The 2 metal ones went up there. And we got some sort of mystery. It's like just a plug. So we're going to get our screwdriver up in there and we'll pull that plug down, try to get it out of there. I've started to be able to move that plug, but I don't know. I'm having a hard time pulling on it. What I'm afraid is I'm going to probably need to go get some gloves. Man, that's some sharp plastic. You rake your hand across that, you're going to be sliced open the back of your hand. So I'm going to go get some gloves. Maybe I can pull a little harder. I found that to be pretty interesting. There's no paint under the bolt. So that means this car was put together and then painted. And that's very strange. I guess assembled the fenders, painted with the fenders on it. Very interesting. Got 2 screws up under this thing, so just pull that thing back. You could have probably, I don't know, I said that not take that one off, but I don't think you could have folded that back without taking it off. Okay, basically you got to lift this up out of there. So right now it's loose, but what I don't want to do is for it to get away from me and scratch this door. I still have that one peg holding it on in the front. So I'm going to go get a second person, because if I get crazy and that gets away from me and scratches that door, I'm going to be in all kinds of trouble. So I need 2 people for this part, or somehow to get that the rest of that plug out. Okay, that's the plug for the top. So basically, you had those 4 screws holding this together, holding the front. You had these 3 screws on top. Got 1, 2, 3. You had the 2 inside and the 2 for the bottom. So now we got this thing. Put this down. Use 2 hands so again I don't scratch up the door. The new part next to the old one. Look good enough to me. So let's just put that in there in reverse and I'll show you if I have any problems. Okay, I found some other things interesting. It looks like these little things got to go into the holes in the fender to help you line it up. And also I heard something fall, which was the clip for the front. So this has got to go inside there when you put that back together. So a lot of pieces, not too complicated. I'm going to get a little bit of grease and put on every one of these screws for the next guy. It may be 20 years before somebody messes with this, but just a little dab of grease. And I don't see anything else. The hard part's going to be sliding the fender down inside here. So again, I think I'm going to get a second person to hold that back while I slide that back in there together. Okay, there's a picture of it started on there. You had to be very careful and get this piece just over the top. It looks like everything's lining up pretty good. Have to line up those things. And when we tighten this down, to be very careful, try to leave that gap. And this looks like it. I don't know how that's going to turn out, but it is what it is. So we'll just start tightening it up, make sure everything that the door opens and closes good. Okay, I went ahead and I put some grease on every one of these screws. Most importantly, these 2 up front that were really greasy. I mean, really rusty. I lubed them up pretty good. Try to stop the rust on those. But there you go. That's the front piece. Got the 3 bolts for the top, the 2 bolts for the door, and the 2 bolts for that. We have all the clips to put back in, and then we're going to have to figure out something. Oh, go ahead and push those out. Right there. Push those out with your, get them all out of there. There's no reason to have, that's the clips that were pinched off. Going to have to get all those. They should just come out with a screwdriver by hand. There you go. Okay, one thing that I wanted to tell you is don't put 1 bolt in and tighten it. Put them all in, just kind of loose, almost tight, but still loose, so you can move that around if you need to. But that's what I'm going to do. And then after I got everything loose, snug, we'll test the door, make sure it opens and closes, close the hood, make sure it opens and closes, and then we will tighten the bolts down snug. Okay, as I'm putting these bolts on, I see a couple things that are really important. One is how flush you're getting these here and here, and probably the height of this ridge. And also, when I went to put in the front bolts, there's clips, and we got to get these clips out and reuse them. It looks like there's a little spring right there where my fingernail is. You can't see it, but oh, they're on both sides. So you're going to have to get a pair of needle nose pliers or something and take those 3 out and put them in the other fender. Alright, this is a classic case of learning from somebody else's mistake. These need to go in this fender. It's already bolted, so we're going to have to loosen those 3 bolts, see if we can get it up high enough to slide these clips in there. But it'd be much easier to do this with this off the fender before you installed it. So that's one step you could learn from my mistakes here. Well, remember when I said in the video to put that thing in the back seat? Well, as I was putting this video on YouTube, I remembered it was still in the back seat. So luckily, I haven't put those things back on. I never went to the store and got them. So we're going to take these side out real quick and stuff that back in there if I can without. I mean, luckily all I got to do is take those clips out. But that's another mistake. Don't put this thing, just put a tool or something on it. Put some tools so it won't blow away in the wind while you're working. But another mistake to learn from me. Don't put that in the back seat. Well, at least from yesterday, we learned that those are real simple to get out. I ended up taking all the front ones out. So there's like 6. It only took me like 2 minutes. Now we can shove that foam up in there and seal it back up. Okay, it looks like this metal ridge right there, if you stuff that foam behind that metal ridge, I think that kind of holds it in position, but it's not in there. It doesn't seal like 100%, but it does fit. It's molded and it kind of fits in there down into the bottom. And then it's molded again up here at the top. Be careful, don't close that door while you get your finger in there. That would hurt. But that's it. This was one of my fears when I started the project, is not being able to find. This is my 3rd trip to the store, and I found these Ford clips. But basically, I can cut the tips of them off. Basically, I'm just pushing those up in there. And then I found I can cut the tip of that off. So that looks pretty much like the originals. That's the best I'm going to get. So if you're looking for part number, and basically when you cut that off, it looks exactly like the others. But I made several trips and none of them seemed to work. But that doesn't look too bad. It's looks kind of like the factories. When you're putting this back together, this plastic needs to be on the inside. I've already clipped 2 of those and realized that it wasn't going to fit there. So I've got to take those 2 back out real quick and put them underneath. All the other clips are in. And I think that about completes it, besides going to AutoZone and we're finding something that'll clip those back together. So we need 5 clips of some sort. I'll probably take one of these with me to the store, maybe try to size it up, something similar. These button clips have no resistance against that plastic. So basically I used the originals in that hole. I used, because the metal is there, you get resistance. These were really hard. I was able to have resistance against them, and then I could twist them and spin them in there like a screw, and they went all the way in. And I put the original one back in that one that was missing and did the same thing, screwed that one. So they look like the originals because they have that funky top on them. And these I cut off. They don't look like the originals, but I think that will work good enough. And those. So that's finished. All the clips back in. And again, painted fender, about $200. They wanted $1,000 to paint it and put it on. So I saved about $800, and it looks, paint looks really just like the original This one's dirty, but it looks really good. This piece on the front is going to have to get pushed all the way. There you go. And that's it. Now we'll go to the store. This one was missing, so I'm going to buy one, so I need 6 clips. And that will zip all those together. And clipped that back. Had a little trouble pinch that, so hope that doesn't affect that cord. I'm going to go ahead and put the tire on, because I think I can push those clips on. Even with the tire, I think I can reach up underneath there and push the clip in there. So that's a 2010 Chrysler 300 fender replacement. And hopefully once it's washed, it'll look pretty good. But looking at that right there, it looks pretty close to the same paint. Okay, that's one last video of the new fender on there. Basically, they wanted $1,000 to repair and fix the old fender. Had one little dent in it. So I bought this one for $175 plus tax. I think it was a $185, $190 maybe. So I saved myself about $300. Basically bought that fender, got some simple tools, basically a number 10 and a screwdriver and a tool to take the tire off, and that's it. Not too bad. Save you $800.